Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you 3 things. FTX was not an accident, wasn't just some startup with some kid. ETHgate is not some accident. This didn't just happen. It wasn't just some free pass or whatever and just some guys, oh, that's just the way it works. No. And the third thing is that Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, the whole thing, this is not just some accident. It's not just some guy in a bathroom that's a libertarian just decided to do it. All of those things. And folks, and I'll say it right out of the gate, remember my words, all roads lead to MIT, period. All roads. And you'll see it all. You'll see what I'm talking about in this video. Before I get going, I want to remind you, from my sponsors, yesterday I bought more XRP on Uphold, one of the only places you can get it. They're one of my sponsors, link in the top of the description. I try not to keep any of my digital assets on, and Uphold's one of my sponsors, links up there. Try not to keep any of my digital assets on anything except a hard wallet where I control my own keys, no matter where I buy it. Ledger, I've got several of these. Ledger Nano, you can get a Ledger Nano S or a Ledger Nano X. They're not that expensive. Link to that is in the top of the description. Now, they're my sponsor too. Let's move on. All right. Preston Byrne said it better than anybody could say it. And the Preston Byrne, by pure coincidence, is the one long time ago that said he was very suspicious of the Ethereum ICO and what went on in that, okay? Now he says Madoff was in cuffs the next day, but Sam Bankman-Fried's not. Now, this is starting to be picked up mainstream. I'm not going to play you this video as long as like 7 minutes. I encourage you to go watch it. This is Jesse Waters on Fox News, and he covered it, and he covered it. Not that I think that he doesn't know, but he covered it almost in such a way as this was like this startup and just like they happened to be giving money to certain parties and all that. I'm not going to make it about which party and all that. I think all these politicians are scumbags personally. So it's not about that for me. But what he's doing is he was laying it out. And so I wanted to make him aware to look into Gary Gensler. He was meeting with FTX, Jesse Waters. This is not some accident. They just discovered. And the reason I say that is that it wasn't just that this guy happened to become a billionaire really fast. It's everything. It's his parents being 2 MIT professors. It's the fact that he was at MIT while Gary Gensler was at MIT. It's all kinds of things. The fact he's in the Bahamas running this operation and meeting with Gary, and Gary's doing nothing while he sues Ripple. There's a million reasons that this stinks to high heaven. The ties to all kinds of people, okay? And everybody knows that it's just a matter of whether anything's going to be done about it, which I question because I don't trust any politicians, either side. Remember, none of them, not one, I don't care what party, that none of them have called for an investigation of ETHgate. None of them have called for an investigation of this, to my knowledge. I said, look into Gary Gensler. He was meeting with him. This is not some accident. This was coordinated from the start. And you can also look at the media. Go and look at the media. It was like a coordinated propaganda thing to prop this Sam Bankman-Fried up and to create him into this figure that fit the model. You don't have to look hard. And then there's this. This is the organizational chart. And I encourage everybody to zoom in like I'm doing right here on the FTX organizational chart, because you want to talk about Slim Shady. This is about as Slim Shady gets, okay? Anytime things are this is what I've learned in my life. If it's way too overcomplicated, then at some point you have to start asking if that overcomplication is by design. And this looks by design. Now, CZ Binance tweeted this today. 8 billion people will use crypto in a few years. He's right. Guess who called that a while back? This is from an article written, now this will really, the crypto police, sorry Mark Phillips, the crypto police. In fact, while I'm talking about Mark Phillips, if I can find it here it is. Mark Phillips, when I met him in Washington, D.C. at a Link2 meetup, and he gave me this token. Here it is. This is the token Mark Phillips gave me. It's a blue token with the Ripple logo on it, and he said it's for good luck. He pulled it out of his pocket. I have it to this day. I hold it every once in a while I'm doing my shows. Thank you, Mark Phillips. Now, Mark Phillips wrote a very controversial article. He could very well, Mark Phillips could very well have the crypto police coming after him as I speak, because we're even showing this article. But he did write it, and I'm not afraid to show it. Even though the crypto police could come for me too. They will say I'm this. They will say I'm that. They will say, how dare you put that on a thumbnail? But I'm 48 years old and I'm an adult and I don't care. And Mark Phillips is an adult too, and apparently he doesn't care either. All that matters to me is that I do what's good and honest and right, and I try to do the best I can. And if I believe something, then I'll show it to you. And I'm not saying that I believe it's going to $10,000. I am saying that I'm not in XRP for $5, $10, $20. I'm not here for that. I think this is a much bigger thing than all that. It's a much bigger thing than green candles. And for that reason, I show you these kind of things. It says XRP was designed for $10,000. The evidence is in its design. Now, here, and I'm bringing you back to CZ Binance's tweet. 8 billion people will use crypto in a few years. Here's a quote from Mark Phillips' article. Arthur Brito said this. Now, back to the Arthur Brito statement that the XRP ledger needs to be able to scale to serve 7.5 billion people and even more devices. A new account mechanism that should allow the XRP ledger to efficiently serve humanity scale usages in development. This would allow everyone to have an account on the XRP ledger for low cost while providing the necessary performance for humanity level service. I expect most users of XRP will use hosted accounts for their day-to-day needs, holding small amounts of XRP, placing orders and making payments. All right? Now, let's move along. Analysis, regulators and lawmakers are going to respond to the collapse of FTX, even though half of them were involved in FTX in one way or another, okay? They're going to respond to it. And the downfall of its founder, It says Sam's tweets aren't helping. We'll show those in a minute. Now, I want you to hear this guy. Remember when we've shown the videos here when we were talking about ETHgate and how Bernie Madoff, how there was a whistleblower and he told the SEC about Bernie Madoff 1,000 times and they didn't do anything. And then he also said that the big Wall Street firms already knew about it. And he said, you know, people in glass houses don't throw stones. When he was asked why they didn't say anything, well, listen to this.
I told him that I gave the story and then some to the Bloomberg crypto team in London in July. And it was wrapped up and it was packaged. And I said, this thing is going to have huge political consequences. You guys should run with it. And they looked at it and they said, they're too busy. It requires too much work. They don't want to piss.
Or do you mean that the election has not gotten over with yet?
SBF. Because they need access and they passed. And it was ridiculous. And it really pissed me off. And I said, I can't believe you guys are passing on this. And the mainstream media didn't want to touch this. They didn't want to touch it because
you mean the same mainstream media that propped up Sam Bankman-Fried from 2019 until now, that showed all the videos of him, what a humble guy he was driving a Toyota Camry? You mean that same media?
Afraid of losing access. They're afraid of losing advertising dollars. They don't want to piss off people.
Right. They don't want to tell the truth is what they don't want. Speaking of truth, this is a fascinating tweet right here. Usually students skip classes, but in this example, Gary Gensler's MIT course skips a class, class 18. What was said in this class? I would love to know. All right. Now, this is fascinating, folks. Class 18. So I retweeted it. I said class 18, and I retweeted it because of a response to him. And the response was, I know exactly what he said. Been looking for that for months. His exact words were, he said, no one knows who Satoshi is, then goes on to say, well, that may not be true. A few people at Goldman may know, being that when Satoshi registered his white paper, it was done at MIT. Gary knows. All right. Now, let me put this in context. So, look, folks, we've already shown you the video where Homeland Security knows who four Satoshi Nakamotos are. We know from the video that we've shown you that both Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan were working with the Ethereum guys before the Ethereum public mainnet launch. We know all of this. Okay? And now we know that Gary Gensler said something in class number 18, okay, that is now wiped. Look at this. This is the MIT open course, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then 18's gone, 19, 20, 21. Folks, this is what you call over the target. I went into the slideshows. If you look right here, it's got lecture slides. Went into the slideshows, 18, no lecture slides available. Folks, there's a there, okay? Now, and here's 18, a description of the course. They've got that. A new approach to crypto exchange and payments. So, folks, anybody out there who has class 18, I want it, because if we can prove that Gary Gary knows who Satoshi is and that Goldman Sachs also does, it makes us, it's one more blatant thing we can show to show that this man is a bold-faced liar and has no place near any government agency in the United States of America. Now, here's the other thing, and this is why I actually tweeted it. All crypto roads lead to MIT. All the answers are there. This guy who just happens to pop up every time remember he bet dimes to donuts that they would say Ethereum used to be a security, but now it wasn't. And then 8 days or so later, Hinman goes to the microphone and says exactly that. He just happens to know things and happens to find things out before the rest of us. Well, look what he also did.
Course at MIT. I actually was a guest lecturer. Course at MIT.
He was a guest lecturer at MIT because he worked with Gary, I believe it was in Hong Kong when they were at Goldman Sachs. There are no coincidences, folks, and all of this is exactly what you think it is. Now, I said yesterday, I don't play chess. I did watch The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, and I liked it. This feels like a final move, or I guess they call it a checkmate. Charles Hoskinson decided to get into a debate with David Schwartz online. Charles Hoskinson is rationalizing the Ethereum free pass and trying to say there's nothing to see here. He says, it's how the current game is played. In other words, let's not ask any questions about it. It's just how the game's played. The entire reason I entered the crypto space is to change that game because it isn't fair or productive. And David Schwartz says, so if I wanted to show someone how the game is played, one of the things I would show them is the Ethereum free pass, right? I mean, that might be the most classic reply I've ever seen. So then there's this, okay? Now, BitBoy was on InfoWars, the Alex Jones channel, not with Alex Jones, but with one of his guys. I want you to hear what he says about this SBF thing. When he said it, all this started coming together for me.
Wonder how much he was aware of.
First of all, what you're watching is a video of Tom Brady. Tom Brady's sitting there videoing with Sam Bankman-Fried. And then Sam Bankman-Fried just walks away, and it's very weird, almost like something he doesn't really understand what's going on.
He was doing was illegal. You wonder of how much, he was told, oh, you'll be fine. Oh, don't worry about it. Oh, we've got your back, whatever. And then the people that end up, disappearing, stabbing him in the back. It's interesting, though. He did flee to the Bahamas. That was probably a decision that he made, whether or not that was to go down there and do something, or he just thought, I need to get out of the States because I'm about to be arrested or investigated. We may not know. But, I mean, moving forward, I see a situation here where if I am his lawyer, that would be my play. I would say, hey, look, I've got a client here who suffers from a learning disability or has some sort of, spectrum autism here, and he was taken advantage of. And so we want the individuals that took advantage of him to be called to task here. I don't know how much of this, SBF will be thinking about, but that would be my play as the lawyer, because, I mean, I think that's a real element of this. Not to get him off the hook, but just to say, hey, let's look at all the players.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Jeffrey Dahmer. They try for the insanity plea. I mean, it's a good way to go to be able to try to not get the harshest sentence or consequence you can get. And in this case, it actually be used as a way to point fingers above him. And I think that this is really where it gets kind of dark, because when we're looking at SBF being portrayed as the fall guy here, and you're looking at, if he were really to point fingers at the people behind the scenes that were really running this, what kind of jeopardy does that put his life in?
Yeah.
They could certainly use this angle of, I was used, but at some point you got to say who was using you. And when you go up the ladder so far, you know as well as I know, there's some names on my...
Yeah. Anyway, we won't go there. But listen, the point is, I think it's so much more devious than this, folks. I believe, because I've been observing this kind of stuff for a long time. I believe that I believe this thing was set up to intentionally put the people that were the face of this, that they had some of these defects, whether it's autism or whatever you want to call it. That way, when things really hit the fan, you can throw your hands up, and the attorneys can come in and they can throw their hands up, and they can say, "See, he's got issues. He didn't know he didn't comprehend how bad this. That's where this is going to go. Write it down, and I'll show you some evidence of it too. This stuff, these tweets that are going around that Sam Bankman-Fried's making right now." This right here, if I'm the lawyer, his lawyer, I'm going, oh, well, this shows you're doing these silly tweets and all. You're typing out these letters. This shows that my client didn't fully comprehend the gravity of the situation. That's one way to look at it, folks. Look at this. Because words mean things. You know that from listening to this channel. This Cointelegraph article said Sam Bankman-Fried is under supervision in the Bahamas, looking to flee to Dubai. But it says under supervision. Those words are very interesting to me, because under supervision, well, my 10-year-old is under supervision by me, okay? My wife, who is about the same age as me, she's not under my supervision. She's an adult. But Sam Bankman-Fried, is now under supervision. Now, you could say, okay, well, that's law enforcement but supervising is not the right word. You wouldn't say under supervision if he was under arrest. You'd say he's under arrest. You'd say or you'd say something to that effect. But under supervision, they didn't say Bernie Madoff was under supervision. They said he had been arrested and he's awaiting trial, and maybe he got out on bail or something, but not under supervision. He's a grown man. But this kid, maybe he's childlike because he's autistic, and maybe the attorneys are going to use that to their advantage. Maybe that was the plan when they put him to be CEO of this thing in the first place, just in case things didn't work out. Because look at this from Crypto Bitloid, from the Bahamian police force. At this stage, we can't identify, and I don't know if this is true or not, it says we can't identify any local laws broken by the exchange. We will continue to work with the international agency as the case develops, but as of today, Sam is free to go. Now, and John Deaton says, now you know why SBF went to the Bahamas. This is what happens when you have zero regulatory clarity, So But then I've also got this in my mind. And I don't know if this is true, but it was interesting. It says SBF is combing through. They're basically saying that he's putting these lettered tweets out. And because I'm not a techie, I don't know. It said he's doing it to somehow fool deleted tweet bots where he can delete old tweets. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do find this interesting. One, Elon Musk buys Twitter with CZ Binance investment, and he rejects an SBF investment. Two, CZ Binance initiates what becomes the SBF takedown. Three, SBF begins to try and delete Twitter evidence. Four, Elon Musk does what? I don't see. So if he's trying to delete tweets, this would make tons of sense. But I don't know if that's what's going on there. This right here might be the biggest news of the day. And I don't even know if this is true either, but it's wow. Hearing rumors that Ethereum is insolvent, withdrawals are disabled for staked ETH. The so-called beacon chain was unfortunately also run by Alameda Research. They spent it all on venture capital investments, among other expenditures. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that there are some